The galaxy had not known peace for hundreds of years. Star systems fought endlessly and no one trusted anyone else. The Zalari Empire, ruled by the mighty alien queen, was one of the strongest powers in the galaxy. Her people were fierce, clever, and proud. Wars were their way of life, and the queen had never made a mistake in judgment. But even the queen knew her empire could not survive endless battles forever. The humans, spread across distant colonies, were strong, stubborn, and unpredictable. They had survived every attempt to control them. Their courage was something the Zalari did not fully understand. Yet the humans also wanted peace, tired of endless war. Both sides realized that only a bold move could stop the fighting. The plan was shocking. The alien queen would marry a human. Not as a gesture but as a sign of peace. To the Zalari Council it seemed risky and strange. To the human colonies it seemed impossible. And yet, the queen chose a man named Ethan Voss. Ethan was not a hero in the human sense. He was a captain, known for his calm mind and clever thinking. He had never led an army into battle or fought aliens before. But the queen saw something in him that no one else did. His eyes were steady, and his heart seemed unshakable. He had a presence that demanded respect without words. When Ethan arrived at the Zalari Palace, he felt like he had stepped into another world. The palace floated above a purple gas giant, its towers shining like glass. Creatures of every shape and size moved gracefully around the halls. 6 armed guards watched him closely, their eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. He took a deep breath and reminded himself that he was there for peace, not war. The queen met him in the central hall. She was taller than any human, her skin shimmering like liquid silver, and her 6 arms moved with perfect precision. Her eyes, black as obsidian, stared at Ethan as if she could see every thought in his mind. Most humans would have trembled. Ethan did not. He bowed politely and said, "I am here to serve peace, Your Majesty." The queen's lips curved slightly. No human had ever spoken to her like that. Most were afraid, most tried to impress her with gifts or words. Ethan simply stood there, calm and respectful. The council whispered among themselves. The queen had chosen wisely. Weeks passed as Ethan learned the ways of the Zalari court. He studied their language, their customs, and even their strange rituals. He observed the queen closely, noticing her strengths and her doubts. Though she appeared powerful, she carried the weight of her empire on her shoulders. Ethan could see it in the quiet moments, when her gaze wandered to the stars as if searching for hope. The other Zalari were not so sure. They questioned every move he made, watched him for weakness, and sometimes even laughed at him. But Ethan never lost his calm. When they tested him with riddles, he solved them. When they tried to scare him, he stood firm. Slowly their respect grew. Even the queen began to change. She had married many for power before, but this was different. She did not need Ethan to bow to her will. Instead, she found herself curious about his thoughts, his decisions, and his courage. She watched him interact with her people, how he treated the weak, how he stayed calm under pressure. It was unlike anything she had seen in her long life. One night, under the glowing rings of the gas giant, Ethan and the queen walked through the palace gardens. Strange alien flowers glowed in soft blue light, and the air smelled sweet and sharp at the same time. The queen spoke softly, almost to herself, "Humans are so unpredictable. And yet, perhaps they are what we need." Ethan nodded, careful not to offend. "We survive because we do not give up. We fight when we must, and we try to find peace when we can." The queen paused, considering his words. She realized that she had not just married a human for peace. She had married someone who might change the course of the galaxy. Someone who could stand beside her, not as a servant, but as an equal. The days went on, and the humans and Zalari grew accustomed to the union. Some humans feared betrayal, while some Zalari whispered about the foolishness of trusting a human. But for Ethan and the queen it became clear, their union was more than politics. It was a chance to show the galaxy that even the impossible could happen. Little did they know, the peace they had fought so hard to create was fragile. Forces beyond their control were already moving, preparing for a war that could test everything they had built. But for now, under the silent stars, the queen and the human walked together, an unlikely pair bound by hope, courage, and the promise of something greater than themselves. The galaxy watched silently and perhaps for the first time in centuries, wondered if humans could be more than just survivors, they could be the turning point for the future. The peace between humans and the Zalari lasted, but it was fragile. Rumors of unrest spread quickly across the galaxy. Not everyone accepted the marriage of the queen and a human. Some Zalari whispered that the union was a weakness. Some humans worried that the queen might betray them. Even with the formal ceremonies and celebrations, fear and suspicion lingered like a shadow. Ethan spent his days learning the ways of the Zalari court. He studied their language carefully, learning the subtle meanings behind every word. He watched the queen in meetings, noticing how her decisions were influenced by pride, tradition, and a deep sense of responsibility. He began to understand that ruling an empire was more complicated than leading a fleet or a small human colony. But he also saw opportunities to help. The queen's advisors were clever, but they were bound by old customs. Ethan suggested small changes, ways to improve trade, communication, and defense. Some advisors laughed at him. Others began to listen. One afternoon, the queen summoned Ethan to the council chamber. Massive windows opened to a view of the purple gas giant below, its swirling storms reflecting the light of distant suns. The council had gathered, tense and silent. A group of Zalari ships had been attacked near the human colonies. The humans claimed it was a test, but the Zalari feared a rebellion. The queen's voice was sharp and commanding. "Ethan, tell me what you think." Ethan stepped forward, keeping his hands behind his back. "We should not respond with anger. We should respond with strategy. Their goal is to provoke us. If we move too fast, they will gain the advantage. But if we act carefully, we can protect our people and show our strength without starting a full war." The council murmured. Some scoffed at the human, but the queen raised a hand, silencing them. "Very well. We will follow your plan." Ethan worked day and night with Zalari engineers and commanders. He studied their ships, their weapons, and their systems. He suggested changes that seemed simple, but the effects were powerful. Smaller ships could move faster, shields could be repositioned, and supply lines could be rerouted to protect the colonies. It was a human way of thinking, practical, creative, and unpredictable. The Zalari began to notice that Ethan's ideas worked. Slowly, fear of the human captain shifted to respect. The queen watched all of this with growing admiration. She had expected a human to be clever, perhaps brave, but Ethan was different. He did not rely on power or fear to get respect. He relied on thought, calm, and a strange kind of courage that inspired others to follow him. But peace was never easy. One night, alarms blared across the palace. Scouts reported that a small rebel fleet had attacked a human colony near the edge of Zalari space. Ethan was ready. He had studied the enemy patterns and prepared a response. The queen suited up beside him, her 6 arms holding energy blades, her eyes glowing with determination. Ethan smiled at her. "We protect them. And we show them humans do not give up." The battle began in orbit over the colony. Zalari ships faced the rebels, but it was Ethan who guided them. His voice was calm over the comms, directing ship after ship. When the rebels tried to flank them, he had already anticipated it, sending smaller ships to block their path. His strategies were unusual, unlike anything the Zalari had seen. The human mind, the queen realized, thought in ways their culture could not. The fight was intense and the rebels were clever. But Ethan's calm and quick decisions turned the tide. The rebels were pushed back and forced to retreat. No Zalari ships were lost. The humans cheered from the colonies, amazed at how a single captain could save them. Even the queen's own advisors could not hide their astonishment. After the battle, the queen walked beside Ethan on the palace balcony, overlooking the stars. She was silent for a moment, then said softly, "You are not like any human I have ever met. You do not fear, you do not rush, and yet, you command respect in ways even I cannot understand." Ethan shook his head. "I do not fight for respect. I fight for life, for people, for hope. If we can survive, if we can protect the innocent, then respect will follow." The queen studied him, realizing that this human was not just clever or brave. He had something deeper, something she had never seen in her long life among the stars. He had spirit, determination, a refusal to bow, not out of pride but out of belief in what was right. Word of Ethan's victory spread across the galaxy. Humans and Zalari alike whispered of the human captain who had saved colonies with his mind as much as his courage. Even other alien empires began to take notice, wondering how a human could hold such power in thought and action. Peace continued for a time, but Ethan and the queen both knew it was fragile. Whispers of rebellion still stirred. Forces beyond the queen's empire were moving. Some wanted war. Some wanted to test the human captain. And yet, for the first time in centuries, the Zalari and humans began to see a new possibility. A future where courage, intelligence, and determination could change the galaxy. For Ethan, every day was a lesson, a challenge, and a victory. He was learning not just to survive among the Zalari, but to teach them the human way, to think, to adapt, and to fight with heart. And the queen, for her part, was learning that sometimes the greatest strength did not come from power or fear, but from the quiet courage of a single human willing to stand and fight for what was right. And so, under the glowing light of distant stars, the fragile peace held by a human mind, a human spirit, and the bond of an unlikely marriage that could change the fate of the galaxy. War finally came. The fragile peace between humans and the Zalari could not hold forever. Rumors of rebellion had turned into action. A massive fleet of rogue alien factions attacked without warning. Their goal was clear: destroy the human colonies and show the galaxy that the Zalari Empire had made a mistake marrying a human. The Queen watched the approaching ships from her command tower. Her 6 arms rested on the railing, and her eyes glowed with tension. This was unlike any battle she had faced. Thousands of ships moved like a dark storm, faster than any she had ever commanded. She turned to Ethan. "Captain Voss," she said, her voice steady but tense. "The fleet is enormous. Are we ready?" Ethan studied the battle displays carefully. His mind worked quickly like a machine fueled by logic and instinct. "We are ready. Not to match them in size but to outthink them. They expect fear. They expect us to retreat. We will not give it to them." The Queen nodded. She had fought countless wars and faced countless enemies, yet there was something in Ethan's calm confidence that made her believe victory was possible. She had seen humans fight in small skirmishes but never on this scale. She could sense that Ethan's mind worked differently. He did not panic. He did not hesitate. The battle began in orbit above a neutral planet. Zalari ships engaged the enemy fleet, firing energy beams and missiles. Explosions lit up the void like stars dying in fire. The rogue fleet attacked with overwhelming force, pushing forward with relentless aggression. Ethan's voice came over the comms, clear and commanding. "Flank them from both sides. Divert the smaller vessels to protect the colonies. Keep your shields in dynamic rotation. Remember, they do not expect unpredictability. Use it." The Zalari pilots hesitated at first. Their tactics were always rigid, always disciplined. But as they followed Ethan's orders, the enemy began to falter. Smaller ships moved in strange formations, faster than the larger fleet could react. Missiles were intercepted in ways that seemed impossible. Shields shifted and reformed like living walls. The Queen watched, amazed. This human was not just commanding, he was rewriting the art of war. The enemy fleet tried to regroup, but Ethan anticipated every move. He calculated risks that no Zalari would dare take. He sent small groups of ships through dangerous paths, drawing the enemy into traps. Every action was precise, every decision perfect. As the battle raged, the rogue forces began targeting the Queen's flagship directly. She had faced countless attacks in her life, but this was different. The human captain was at the center of the fight, moving with uncanny speed and skill. He directed ships to intercept the attacks, then personally piloted a strike craft to block the enemy's main cannon. Ethan's mind was sharp. He analyzed the enemy patterns, predicted their attacks, and adjusted strategies in real time. He fought not with brute force alone, but with cleverness, speed, and courage. Every move inspired the Zalari around him. Even the Queen's elite guards began to whisper among themselves, "This human fought like a god." Hours passed, and the tide of battle slowly turned. The rogue fleet's numbers could not match the coordination and strategy Ethan had orchestrated. Ships that had seemed unstoppable were destroyed or captured. Planets that had been in danger were saved. By the time the last enemy ship retreated, the Zalari Empire had achieved a victory thought impossible. The Queen walked through the aftermath with Ethan by her side. She could see the damage, the burned hulls of ships and the lives lost, but also the hope that had survived. Pilots and soldiers looked at Ethan with awe, some even bowing in respect. He had led them not just to victory but to a new understanding of what humans could do. "You are extraordinary," the Queen said quietly, her voice almost a whisper. "I have fought alongside many but none like you. You see what others cannot. You act when others hesitate. You inspire." Ethan shook his head, looking at the stars. "I do not fight for glory or power. I fight because it is necessary. I fight because lives are at stake. The rest comes naturally." For the first time, the Queen realized that this human was not only brave, he was different from anyone she had ever known. He was clever, fearless, and selfless, with a mind that could see possibilities others could not. He had saved countless lives and, in doing so, had changed her understanding of humans forever. Word of the battle spread across the galaxy. Humans whispered about Ethan's skill, aliens whispered about the strange human who could command fleets with such precision, and even distant empires began to pay attention. The human captain who fought like a god had become a legend before the war had even ended. But even in victory, Ethan knew the fight was not over. The rebels were defeated, but other enemies would come. Peace was fragile and the galaxy was still full of danger. Yet for the first time, humans and Zalari alike could see a new truth. Courage, intelligence, and determination could shape the galaxy in ways no one had imagined. The Queen looked at Ethan again, silently acknowledging the truth she had realized. This marriage for peace had created more than stability. It had created a force capable of defending the galaxy itself. A human who, in the heart of war, fought like a god. And so, as the stars shimmered above, Ethan and the Queen stood together, ready to face whatever the galaxy might throw at them next, knowing that together, they could change the fate of countless worlds. The victory over the rebel fleet gave the galaxy a moment of calm, but the threat was far from gone. Deep in uncharted space, a new plan was forming. The rebels, angry and humiliated by their defeat, gathered their remaining forces. They wanted not just revenge, they wanted to strike at the heart of the Zalari Empire itself. Their target was the Queen's Palace world, a floating fortress above a brilliant green planet. Ethan stood in the palace command room, studying the intelligence reports. "They are planning something bold," he said, pointing at the holographic map. "Their fleet is smaller but faster and more desperate. They will try to bypass our defenses and strike directly at the palace. If they succeed, the Queen, and the Empire, could fall." The Queen's eyes narrowed. "How do we stop them?" "The palace is heavily defended, but if they breach the shields," her voice trailed off. She did not finish the thought. She already knew the stakes. Ethan took a deep breath. "We stop them with strategy, speed, and precision. They will expect us to fight the fleet directly. We will do something different. I will lead a small strike team to intercept their command ships, while the rest defend the colonies and the palace. We hit the leaders first. Remove them and the rest will scatter." The Queen studied him carefully. This was dangerous. Ethan would face the enemy almost alone, against overwhelming odds. And yet, she could see the determination in his eyes. "Very well," she said. "Do it." The plan was risky. Ethan led a fleet of 20 ships through a dangerous asteroid field, using it as cover to approach the enemy command vessels. The rebels had expected a traditional attack, but the human captain was unpredictable. His ships moved like shadows, unseen and swift. Inside the command ship, Ethan directed every move. "Divide your fire. Focus on the leaders first. Keep your shields flexible. Watch for traps. Stay calm." His voice was calm, but his mind raced, calculating angles, speeds, and timing. Every second counted. The enemy noticed too late. Ethan's strike team struck with precision. One by one, the rebel command ships were disabled. Explosions erupted, sending debris spinning into space. The rogue fleet lost its leadership and, with it, its coordination. The remaining ships began to retreat, unsure of what to do next. But Ethan was not finished. He saw a massive warship, larger than any in the fleet, moving toward the palace itself. He signaled his team. "We take that one down. It cannot reach the Queen." The battle was intense. Ethan piloted his ship with skill that seemed impossible. He dodged energy blasts, anticipated the enemy's movements, and struck with deadly accuracy. One strike, then another, until the massive warship was crippled, drifting helplessly in space. Meanwhile, the Queen led the palace defenses. Her 6 arms moved with perfect coordination, directing energy beams and missiles. She fought not just with power but with intelligence, anticipating where the enemy would strike next. And through it all, she watched Ethan, marveling at his courage. The human did not hesitate. He did not falter. He led with his mind and heart as much as with weapons. When the final rebel ships retreated, the palace and colonies were safe. The battle was over. The Queen floated above the command deck, breathing heavily. She looked at Ethan, who had returned from the front lines, his uniform scorched, his face tired but unbroken. "You did it," she said simply. Ethan shook his head. "We did it together. Your people fought bravely. Humans fought bravely. And the rebels made mistakes we could exploit. It was strategy, not luck." The Queen studied him, her admiration clear. "No. Was you. Your mind, your courage. You are unlike any human I have known. You think differently, fight differently, and inspire like no one else. You fought like a god, and I have seen it with my own eyes." Ethan smiled faintly. "I am just a human. I do what must be done." The Queen shook her head. "No. You are more than that. You have changed the way my people see humans. You have shown that courage, intelligence, and determination can shape the galaxy. And more than that, You have shown me that even the impossible can happen. Word of Ethan's actions spread across the Empire. Pilots, soldiers, and citizens alike whispered of the human who led a small fleet and saved the Queen's palace from destruction. Even distant allies and enemies heard the tale, wondering how one human could act with such skill, bravery, and foresight. For the first time, humans were not just seen as survivors. They were seen as thinkers, strategists, and heroes. And at the center of it all was Ethan, humble but unstoppable, always thinking, always planning, always acting when others could not. The Queen walked beside him through the palace gardens later that night. The sky above glowed with distant stars, peaceful now after the chaos of battle. "You have done more than protect me," she said softly. "You have protected hope itself. You have made us see that humans are not weak. They are not small. They are extraordinary." Ethan looked at the glowing alien flowers and shrugged. "We survive because we do not give up. We fight for life, for those who cannot fight for themselves. That is all." The Queen smiled faintly, realizing that the human beside her had shown something the galaxy had never seen before. Not just strength, not just skill, but heart. Courage that inspired others, intelligence that outmatched even the cleverest alien minds, and determination that refused to bow to fear or odds. The battle had tested Ethan, and he had not only survived, he had triumphed. The Queen knew the galaxy would never be the same. Humans, led by people like Ethan, had proven they could be the turning point in wars, the hope in despair, and the force that could change the future of countless worlds. And so, as the stars twinkled above the palace gardens, the Queen and the human captain stood together, ready for the next challenge. Because even though the battle was won, the galaxy still waited, full of danger, opportunity, and the chance for humans to rise higher than anyone had ever imagined. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. After the final battle for the Queen's palace, word spread fast. Humans were no longer just survivors. They were warriors, strategists, and heroes. And at the center of it all was Ethan Voss, the human captain who had fought like a god. The rebel forces had been crushed, their leaders defeated or captured. The remaining fleets surrendered or retreated, knowing they could not win against an alliance led by a human mind that outthought even the cleverest aliens. The humans and Zalari had survived, but the cost had been high. Ships were damaged, colonies were scarred, and many lives had been lost. Still, hope had survived, and the galaxy could see that it was stronger than ever. The Queen moved through her palace world, inspecting the aftermath. Her people looked to her for guidance, for assurance that the Empire would remain strong. Yet her gaze kept returning to Ethan. The human who had joined her not as a pawn, not as a servant, but as an equal, had become more than a commander. He had become a symbol, a proof that humans could rise to any challenge no matter how impossible. "You have changed everything," the Queen said quietly, stepping beside him in the central hall. "Your actions, your courage, the galaxy will remember you." Ethan shook his head, his tired eyes meeting hers. "I did what I had to do. The people fought with me, the Zalari fought with me, and we survived. That is all. I am no hero." The Queen smiled faintly, her 6 arms crossing as she regarded him. "Perhaps not in your eyes. But in the eyes of every human, every Zalari, every alien who witnessed your courage, you are more than that. You are a force the galaxy cannot ignore." The celebration began that evening. The palace gardens glowed with light from thousands of bioluminescent plants. Aliens of every kind mingled with humans, sharing food, laughter, and stories of the battles that had just ended. Pilots who had fought alongside Ethan told tales of his skill, his calm in the heart of chaos, his ability to see solutions when no one else could. They spoke of how one human had led a fleet against impossible odds and turned what seemed like certain defeat into victory. Ethan moved quietly among the crowd, acknowledging nods and smiles but keeping his distance. He had always been humble, even as legends formed around him. To him, the war had not been about glory. It had been about protecting life, about making sure the innocent survived. That was all. The Queen approached him again, her voice low but firm. "You must be honored. The galaxy must see that a human has earned respect not through wealth, not through birth, but through courage, intelligence, and action." Ethan hesitated. "I do not fight for honors or titles. I fight because it is necessary. The rest is meaningless." The Queen placed a hand on his shoulder, firm and commanding. "You're wrong. What you have done changes everything. The galaxy will never forget the human who fought like a god. And neither will I." In the central plaza, the Queen gave a speech that would be remembered for centuries. She spoke of unity, courage, and the unexpected strength of humans. She spoke of Ethan Voss, the human who had not only saved her life in the Empire but had inspired hope across species. The crowd cheered, their voices echoing across the palace world, honoring a man who had refused to bow to fear, to odds, or to convention. Ethan stood beside her, silent, watching the reaction. Children of humans and Zalari alike waved at him, their eyes wide with admiration. Soldiers who had once doubted him now knelt in respect. Even distant ambassadors from other empires nodded with newfound understanding. Humans were no longer underestimated. Humans were not just survivors, they were champions capable of shaping the galaxy. The Queen turned to him, her expression serious. "You did not just fight. You taught us what it means to lead with courage, to act with intelligence, and to never give up. You have proven that humans are not small, weak, or fragile. You have shown that we are stronger together than apart." Ethan finally spoke, his voice quiet but steady. "I am only one human. The strength is in all of us. If humans can rise to this challenge, then maybe the galaxy can be a better place for everyone. That is the victory we have won." The Queen nodded, understanding the truth in his words. Together they looked out over the stars. The battle was over, but the galaxy was vast, full of challenges and dangers. Yet, for the first time, humans were no longer considered insignificant. They had proven that courage, cleverness, and determination could overcome even the greatest threats. In the coming months, peace began to take hold. The Zalari and humans worked together, rebuilding what had been damaged, fortifying colonies, and sharing knowledge. Other alien civilizations, once doubtful of human potential, began to recognize the power of human ingenuity and spirit. Ethan's name became a symbol across star systems, a symbol of hope, bravery, and the unbreakable human will. The Queen, walking beside him under the glowing stars of her palace world, spoke softly, "The galaxy has changed because of you, Ethan Voss. Because of one human who refused to quit, who fought like a god, who inspired everyone around him. The impossible is now possible." Ethan smiled faintly. "We did it together. Humans, Zalari, we all fought. But yes, maybe humans are stronger than anyone ever believed." And so, the union that had begun as a fragile political move became a legend. The marriage between an alien queen and a human captain had not just saved worlds, it had rewritten the future. Humans were no longer seen as fragile, unpredictable, or weak. They were heroes, warriors, and champions. And at the center of it all stood Ethan Voss, the human who fought like a god, reminding the galaxy that courage, determination, and the human spirit could shape the stars themselves. The stars shone brightly above as if acknowledging the truth: the galaxy would never be the same again. Humans had arrived and they had proven their worth.